and benefit. So think about a sport where part of the philosophy of the sport is not only winning, but also mutual welfare and benefit for both you and your opponent. It's a little different thinking. Obukan Judo, we were established in 1926 by Japanese immigrants. Professor Kano himself visited our club twice, and in 1938, renamed our dojo to Obukan, Oregon Martial Arts Training Hall. Unfortunately, our doors were closed during World War II, but after the war, we overcame racial pressures and reopened the dojo. Jim Anchi Sensei led Obukan for over 55 years, and he really emphasized one of the principles of judo, maximum efficiency, use of energy, but also mutual welfare and benefit. He really emphasized that quite a bit. Today, Toshio Ichinoi Sensei is our head sensei, and he continues that philosophy. We're a nonprofit organization, and after 96 years, we're still sharing judo with and these principles with the community. We were started by the Japanese community, but today we really reflect the multicultural sport that judo has become. With over 207 countries practicing judo worldwide, it's the second most practiced sport in the world. So one of the first things you learn in judo is how to protect yourself in a fall. And that really is a lifetime skill. Once you learn how to fall and protect yourself, it's good for not only uh, practicing judo, but also if you fall on the street. One thing unique about judo is it is a full contact sport, but it's not uncommon to see 3 or 4 generations of practitioners on the mat at the same time. Okay, we're gonna demonstrate some judo throws now. Now remember, judo means the gentle way. We are landing on mats, but they're not that soft. So really learning how to break your fall is very important. So both female and male compete in judo. They have separate divisions, but it's not uncommon for women to partake in judo. Oh, now we have a mother-daughter competing against each other. Now 2 sisters. Judo really emphasizes maximum efficiency of your effort, so it's easy for a smaller person to overcome a larger person. Two brothers now going with each other. Now we're going to do a drill called uchikomi, which is form practice. So you saw the throws in action, but now we're going to show you how we practice the throws. Right now, we're going to demonstrate some judo matches. Have Aya or Sayaka referee.
Aya, you referee. Referee.
Referee?
Yeah. Like Hajime everything. Hey! Kataguma!
Throwing your opponent flat on his back wins the match.
Jeffrey and Chase. You guys out there? One guy hit the Rosa guy. Ooh. We only got a couple minutes. Okay, and then a grudge match. Christian hasn't come to practice.
Oh, now we have two brothers.
No, Christian.
Oh, Christian. Oh, Christian. Christian has challenged one of our senseis to a match.
Turn, Chris. Turn.
Okay.
Oh!
Really? Okay, go ahead.
Hello? So we want to ask anybody in the audience that wants to learn judo to come on up. We're going to teach you a throw, and you get to throw us. We got a couple minutes to do that.
Come on, it's really fun.
How about that guy in the blue? You, the boots. You, yeah. Let's come on up. Okay. How about you? Come on up. How about someone from this side here? How about you? Come on. Yeah, you. You can throw us. Come on. It's fun. Anybody else? How about you? Or oh, perfect. Come on up. First thing we're going to teach him is Osoto Gary. Okay. So, yeah, that's perfect. So you guys can wait for a second. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lift our arms up, step, leg up, and sweep. Okay, again. Lift your arms up, step, your foot up, and sweep. Okay? So, what the first thing about judo is, which I missed, which is wrong, the first thing we do is we bow to each other. That means I respect you, you respect me. We're equal, so we learn respect first, okay? So then we bow, and what we're going to do is we're going to grab our opponent. What's your name? Navia is going to show us. Grab our opponent here, grab here, right here. You're going to grab here. This arm here, right here. Okay? Navia, you're going to step here. One, leg up here, this leg up here, and cut, and kick, and throw. Go. Boom! Champion! Let's go one more time. Let's go, Navia. One more time. Itch, step, knee, leg, throw. Good job, Navia. Okay, bow. Jessica is going to show us now. So first thing, Jessica's we bow. Then you grab here. Grab here. You're going to step behind her. Just leg behind her first. Get right here. Step there, man. Itch. And like your knee. Hit it. Go. Good job, Jessica. You want to score extra points? Score extra points? Kia. Go. Yeah. That's it. Exactly. Let's go, Jessica. Ready? 1, 2, Kia. Good job, Jessica. Now. Ellen's gonna show us with knock. Knock's difficult, so this might be hard. Okay, grab here. And this here I'm gonna grab here. Right here. Okay? Step here, this foot, this foot. 1, other foot, 2, cut there. Cut. Nice! One more time, Ellen. And Kiki, H. Knee, son, throw. Good job! Let's thank you guys. Ready to bow?
Let's thank our volunteers, our brave volunteers. Great job.
You've done judo with us. You are official Obokon family members. You have to bow out with us. You can line up with us. So now
Okay.
we're gonna line up.
This concludes our demonstration. I want to leave you with a quote from one of the most famous judo athletes in the world. His name is Yasuhiro Yamashita, Olympic gold medalist in 1984. His quote is, and this is something we really hold true to our teaching, on the tatami, there are no borders, politics, or religion, just two athletes testing their skill in the spirit of fair play. Judo is a bridge that connects the world's peoples, cultures, and countries.
We're just standing bow.
Thank you so much for your attention.
We'll go with attention, right? Let's get attention. Right. Thank you. Good job. Thank you, everybody. Come look us up at obokonjudo.org. Thank you.
Zip zip on the mat.
Let's grab the mat, guys. You got it.
I left my home and my parents at the age of 21. In a family of 8 children, I was the youngest son. Little choice was left to me but to go to a foreign land. Oh, who will mourn the passing of this wandering Chinaman? I arrived in this country in 1925, a 16-hour day just to try and stay alive. And when I'd saved enough, thought I was doing fine, I lost everything I had in the crash of '29. 7 long years, gambling was my trade. I'd wander from city to city on the money that I made. When I'd saved enough, thought that I was done, then came a world war in 1941. Oh, lonely and lonely and lonely was my life. I decided to marry and sent away for a wife. I settled down to a family, no longer could I roam. I gave up my dream of ever reaching home. I lost my precious wife in 1965. Without her love and strength, how do I stay alive? And as for my daughter, she's gone to sleep with a red-haired man. And I lost my youngest son in the war in Vietnam. The letter said he died to protect democracy. But why he had to go at all is still a mystery to me. And as for my eldest son, for him there is no hope. He turns all his money to the man that sells him dope. So I sit in this park until the nighttime comes, and I worry for my daughter and I think about my sons. I sit inside this park and stare into my hand. Oh, who will mourn the passing of this wandering Chinaman?
It's just another word for hunger, taking from you what you need. It's just another word.
I was just trying to talk loud to make it go faster.
For
Okay,
hunger.
so remember that there are information booths and there's some free goodies for you over there throughout the day, so enjoy the entertainment and then mingle around. But next up we have Portland Tyco. Affirm, inspire, and create. For 28 years, that has been what Portland Tyco has been doing right here in Portland, Oregon. Drumming with a sense for Asian American identity, creativity, and empowerment. Be sure to catch them for their Farm Festival coming up August 27th. We're so proud to bring you members of Portland Tyco. Donovan Carrillo, and Megumi Uehara. Thank you to Portland Taiko. Next up on our program is Teva Ariate. I may have not said that right. Teva Ariata. Thank you. Is a Polynesian dance troupe under the direction of Angie Jackman. They're at a Tahitian dance studio from Cedar Hills in Beaverton. Their performance piece translates to Together, Stronger, and their message celebrates moving forward in peace, grace, and togetherness. Here we go.
te purotu o te hura I te noa arau o te tiare Maue te noa mahuta te nehe toti no rava Anapanapa Mai te whetia o te rai. Pura pura to iri rawa. I te urau o te tiare. Whetia o te pō. Whetia poi poi. Whetia auro e ana pae. Do tino e te puro tu o te hura e. Ahei ia ue i te puro tu no te hura. I te no ano arau o te tiare. Ma ue te no ano a mahuta te nehene. To te no rava rava anapa napa. Mai te whetia o te rai. Pura pura to iri rawa. I te urau o te tiare. Whetia o te pō. Whetia poi poi. Whetia kauro e ana pae. Do tino e te puro tu o te hura e. Puro tu o te hura e. Hura e. Hura Something about me today. I knew there was something about me today. Something different. I walk tall and look at all things in a different way. I knew there was something different about me today. I looked in the mirror and I saw me. about me today. I looked in the mirror and I saw me, and I didn't want to be any other way. Then I looked around and I saw you, and it was the first time I knew who we really are.
Never met a man who said that he was never afraid. Never met a woman yet who was always brave. When will the time come when we are just what we seem? Long gone hills who wept at night, awakened by a dream. And when in doubt, try to keep trying. Better dead than a living dying. And how many children have...
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Oregon Rises Above Hate. In recognition, thank you. And thank you to Ann Nato Campbell and Erica Campbell for organizing this wonderful day for us. In recognition of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Month, this month of May, we welcome you. Partake in the information booths. There'll be food carts later on, but stay with our show. We're running a little behind because of some technical difficulties, but we're on time perfectly. So I'd like to introduce now Mini Sharma Ogal and troupe. So first of all, they'll give you a taste of India through musical duet and Bollywood dance. They're going to do two pieces, and Manali and Malav. Manav. Ogo will be performing for you a duet of two ancient Indian musical instruments, and also after that, Praveen Lataram will perform a high-energy Bollywood dance that she's choreographed. So hope you enjoy. Mini, Sharma, Ogo, and troupe.
This is my brother Manav. He's 10 years old. He will be playing the ancient South Indian instrument called the guttam. It's a clay pot which makes different sounds depending on where you strike it.
This is my sister Manali. She's going to be playing an ancient North Indian instrument called the Jal Tarang. Jal means water and Tarang means waves. It's an assortment of bowls filled with water, and each one makes a different pitch.
First, we will be playing Jana Gana Mana, which is the Indian national anthem.
Next, I will be playing a part of the Farans in the Mora, which is one of the fundamental building blocks for playing Gattam. First I'll say it, then first I'll say the notes and then I'll play it. Ta kita kita taka tata chata kita taka di kita kita taka tata chata kita taka dhum kita kita taka tata chata kita taka nam kita kita taka tata chata kita tat dhum kita taka tata chata kita taka talang dhum kita taka tata chata kita taka talang ka dhum ka tam talang ka dhum ka tam talang ka dhum ka.
Lastly, I will be playing Swan Padma. Swan means notes, and Padma means mountain. So I'll play all the notes in an increasing order, and then all the notes in a decreasing order.
Do you need a hand, Minnie? Okay, that's great too. Delicately dance. Just stop, please.
खेलन क्यों न जाए तू हो री रे रसिया खेलन क्यों न जाए तू हो री रे रसिया पूछे है जो वे सारी भुइयां कहाँ है बदरी की दुल्हनिया
पे तेरी मलू गुलाल रंग बता बुलू या लाल पैर में तेरे उड़ते बाल आजा रंग दू दोनों गाल अरे सारा रा रा कबीरा सारा रा रा
बेबी के देखे झुमके लगा दे चार ठुमके छिछोरे नाचे जमके रे यूपी में दिन दहाड़े विंडो और छत पे ताड़े हम देखे आंखें फाड़े रे अरे 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 तुझ पे टिकी है मेरी नोटी नजरिया तुझको बना करके तुझको बना करके तुझको बना करके ले जाएंगे बदरी की दुल्हनिया तुझको बना करके
दुल्हनिया
बेबी बड़ी भोली है बेबी की रंग दी चोली है अंग्रेजी में खट पिट में डमरी बुरा न मानो होली है
रामा रामा गजब हो गया तरसे नजरिया लड़ गई आई जवानी जुल्म हुई गवा किस आफत में पड़ गई
अरे सारा रा रा कबीरा सारा रा रा
ओ रामा रामा गजब हो गया तरसे नजरिया लड़ गई आई जवानी जुल्म हुई गवा किस आफत में पड़ गई हाय मैं मर गई सूली पे चढ़ गई नो 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 कहना था लेकिन हाँ कर गई दिल तुझको सेंड में तो कर गई रे मैं बदरी की दुल्हनिया
तुझको बना करके ले जाएंगे हम बदरी की दुल्हनिया देखे देखे झुमके लगाते चार ठुमके छोरे नाचे जमके
तुझ पे टिकी हमें
Thank you to Mini Sharma Ogle and her troupe. Thank you so much. Kylie Kamikawa is a proud Asian American soprano from Portland, Oregon. She's a recent graduate of Chapman University and will be attending the Peabody Institute of Music at Johns Hopkins University for her master's degree. Kylie takes pride in her cultural heritage and sharing her love of music for all. Her dream is to be affiliated with all styles of music and to be an advocate for Asian American representation in the operatic arts, musical theaters, and movies. Welcome, Kylie Kamikawa.
Tampopo, tampopo, Nagasaki baharu no kaze fugi, aoki kazumi wa oka o kome, kotori na wa kunama ni utau. Tampopo, 年ごとになるあなにの髪のあぬの花年ごとになれは酒ともその春に我は行く旅タンポポの花タンポの花
きぽんきたんことりん楽しいをつつくからつとん春な日中の田んぼのたんきぽんきたんことりん我もひでも生き物だあんまりひでも死なさんだたんきぽんきたんことりんからすぎてもしなる顔我もひのがの田んぼの中
Landing in the belly of the monster.
Kylie Kamakawa,
And time is telling
thank
only
you
how long
so
it
much.
takes, layer after
And the
layer.
exciting thing about today
As the beauty
is
unfolds,
we're seeing lineages being
until it's
carried
captured,
on,
it holds in
and we're
terror.
also seeing our elders here. And Kylie is a granddaughter of Gloria Wong, who is one of our elders of Chinatown. So we're so proud of you, Gloria, and we're so proud of your granddaughter for being here today. Thank you so much. Speaking of following a lineage, Rose City Island Dance comes to you for one of the first times here. They're going to do 2 dances for you today, a Tongan dance and a Samoan dance. So welcome our 2 performers, whose names I didn't get. I'm so sorry. What is your name? We have Vaifa. We have Vaifa and Mateo with Rose City Island Dance.
Sei o quê? Oi, sei o quê? Se é cupele, pete ui ui pe. Te vita la taima umi no no teu fe fe. Pete que ngalo na ia fete ui ui pe.
They're going to do a quick costume change, and they're going to be back. Meanwhile, this is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Island month of May. So be looking at all the activities that are going on during the month of May. And today, our schedule is, oops, hold the music there. Today, our schedule is all the booths here. There'll be food carts on the Festival Street of Davis. And we want to, again, thank all of you for taking your time to come down and helping us to reactivate and remember our historic Old Town as being a special, important place to all of us in Portland. Not just here, but all of us in Portland appreciate our historic Old Town. Can I hear it for that? So speaking of lineages, I want to thank Lute Richards, who is here today. But I don't know, did you see that wonderful mentoring going on that was happening? This is their first performance, their first public performance today. So we're so happy. And we know that it takes a lot of courage to get up here, and it takes a lot of belief in them to get them up here. And that mentoring that's going on is what we're talking about, passing the lineage on. So here again, are they ready? No, they're not ready. Okay, so I want to make a plug for Multnomah County Library, who has a booth over there, and they happen to have some free goodies, maybe some Asian American books, other things that you might be interested in. So be sure you visit our booths, and all of the performers also have information out. So if you want to know more about them or their website, please go and look at them and follow them and see what they're up to. So we are ready. Here we have, again, Rose City Island Dance.
Talofa Samoa
This next group is particularly important to me. They also are with a lineage of Master Sahomi Tachibana, and they are continuing on with Tsubaki Buyo Dokukai. And I want to tell you a little bit about them. They're a new group that's forming to carry on the lineage of the Tachibana school, who started traditional Japanese classical and folk pieces. And their aim is to continue to share these dances that have been passed on. And this one was choreographed by Sahomi. We have Yoshiko Kamada and Anne Shintani, Tsubaki Buyo Dokukai.
4つ寄せては針をに大に尽くしの一節もおぼつかなき舞をに
Never met a man who said that he was never afraid. Never met a woman yet who was always brave. When will the time come when we are just what we seem? Long gone hills who wept at night, awakened by a dream. When in doubt, try to keep trying. Better dead than a living dying. And how many children have there been that had to choose and weighed in small hands what they gain and what they lose? When will the time come when the children never cry? When new is old and old is gone, and we live before we die. And when in doubt, try to keep trying. Better dead than a living die. Try to see the mother as she sits there all alone. Try to see the father sitting by the phone, waiting for the phone call saying everything is fine. While the people on the outside just take their time. Just take their time. Just take our time. Never met a man who said that he was never afraid. I never met a woman yet who was always brave. When will the time come when we are just what we seem? Long gone hills who wept at night, awakened by a dream. And when in doubt, try, keep trying.
Well, we're coming to a little bit of an end for our performance part of the program, but please stay for the whole day. And actually, we really are encouraging you to partake of our food carts, which are on Davis, and they'll be available and open at noon. And also, Multnomah County is reminding me again, they have free goodies for you and some Asian American literature as we celebrate Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Island Month, the month of May. We have a special treat for you that we started last year. We're bringing back It's called the Community Chant, Together We Rise. And introducing us is Marcus Mundy, the Executive Director of the Coalition of Communities of Color.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever we are. Hello, everybody. I am Marcus Mundy, the Executive Director of the Coalition of Communities of Color. As you may know, we're a 19-member nonprofit organization representing all cultures, but we do have many Asian-led and Pacific Islander-led organizations, including ERCO and APANO and Unite Oregon and Pacific Islander and Asian Family Center. So we're happy to be here today. And we are here today to share in a community chant to ground ourselves for the day. So, as you may know, I'm not Asian or Pacific Islander, but the things we're talking about are universal. And we're joined together in a common cause to reduce violence and to fight hate. I mean, that is, you see those yellow t-shirts, Oregon rises above hate. That's a big purpose for why we're here today. So we're gonna do a chant, and this is inspired by a personal hero of mine and an icon for justice, the late John Lewis. So here is the chant, and you will hear it more than once. So you cannot give up, you cannot give in. You rise, you overcome, and you do it together, forward. Thank you.
You cannot give up. You cannot give in. You rise. You overcome. And you do it together.
We can do it together with love.
Mari Watanabe. Woo! Now y'all know my name. Mari Watanabe. Okage Samade. Because of you, I am.
Shankar Raman. Nammal Mudiyum. We can do this.
Nadia Hassan, Aman, Insaf, Khushhali, peace, justice, and prosperity.
Mark Nitsui, Nana Korobi Yaoki, 7 times down, 8 times up. When you fall, you always rise.
Lutay na mo Philmohala Richards. Tu hake motafilanga aki, bufetogoni aki kitawausia, elele o tokotaha kotope. We rise by lifting each other up.
Julian Park, 단결, united, 함께 이겨나갑시다. We are united and moving forward together.
محمد الياجوري تفاءلوا بالخير تجدوه. Always hope for good and you shall find it.
Celia Ferrer, pagmamahal, love, mas radikalang magmahal, yung tipong mapagpalaya. It is more radical to love, the kind that liberates.
We cannot give up. We cannot give in. We rise. We overcome. And we do it together, forward.
We
rise. We rise. We rise.
That was my nightmare. Okay. I can still get up. Okay. Somebody else told me they fell the other day, so because I was not going to carry this. Anyway, Portland Taiko, everybody. Portland Taiko. Again, thank you to coming to historic Old Town to help us remember and reimagine this place, Chinatown, Japantown. This afternoon, visit our museums, the Japanese American Museum of Oregon, Portland's Chinatown Museum, Lansu Chinese Garden, the Jewish Museum. Please find out our histories, because sometimes they're not taught. But before we were here, there were other people on this land, the indigenous people. And we want to go into the second part and recognize the Native Americans who were here before us. And to help us do that is Jan Michael Looking Wolf, a native of here, a native of Oregon. Jan Michael.
So I'm Sani, I'm Kalapuya native. I'm half native. My great-grandfather signed the treaty for this area, Chief Joseph Sangreta. I speak my language. I live with my people. My dad is very tall and dark. If you saw me walking down the street, you probably wouldn't think I was native, right? If you saw my dad. My mom is about 5 feet tall, and she's Irish, from Irish immigrants. So I'm here to provide the land blessing from the people of this land. But I just want to say before I do that we have a saying that you're going to hear me say in this prayer, and then I'm going to play my flute. It's Kanawe and Saiga Iktilikam and Saiga in my native language. Kanawe and Saiga Iktilikam and Saiga. The people of this place say that. We say it every day. We're still here. We're still here. And it means we are all one family. Kanawe and Saiga Iktilikam and Saiga. The people that are here since time immemorial, the first human beings from this area have that in their culture. And I want to reach out to everybody here as I do this blessing. And I just want you to know that we all come from a tribe on Mother Earth, all of us here. This is beautiful. This event is absolutely beautiful. And together we do need to rise against hate. Because Kanawe and Saiga Iktilikam Saiga, we are all one family. Through our diversity, through the many shades and colors and beautiful cultures, we all come from an indigenous ancestor somewhere on Mother Earth, right? We are all connected. Go ahead. It's an honor. Let's hear it for them. It's an honor to be here today. It's an honor to be connected to this. And I would just like, before I give the blessing, let's go ahead and give everybody a round of applause that put this on right now as loud as we can. The speakers are coming. So I'm just going to say a few words in the native language from here. And then I'm going to play my tribal flute for you and play a melody on this. And this is a love melody, a love song. Because that's how we rise against hate. By love. We rise against hate by peace. And we rise against hate together because Kanawe and Saiga Iktilikam Saiga. I believe that we are all one family. Creator, Sahali Tai Ishtima. Today we thank you so much for everything. We thank you for the water, Creator. Sak Damanawasukuk. Creator, we thank you for the fire. We thank you for the wind. We thank you for this city. We thank you for our Asian communities. We thank you for all our people, Creator. We thank you for having enough food to eat. Creator, we pray for peace. And we thank you for this land that connects us all together. Kanawe and Saiga Iktilikam and Saiga. beautiful day, everyone.
It means taking back what you need. It means future. It means working to plant the seed. Now tomorrow is too late to start to do it. I'm tired of talking, wanna get down to it today. We'll find a way. We'll find a way today.
I knew there was something about me today. I knew there was something about me today. I walk tall and look at all things in a different way. I knew there was something different about me today. I looked in the mirror and I saw me, and I didn't want to be any other way. Then I looked around and I saw you, and it was the first time I knew who we really and we walked, feeling the ground we'd someday own, not alone. And I knew there was something different.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2.
And I feel us growing stronger, building something new, building something new. I knew there was something different about me.
So far, no feedback. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sun shining. Good day. Okay? Good? Okay. Stepping away.
You can hear me count to 10? That's as far as I can count. That's about as far as I can go. Cue the wind. The sun comes out and that's like,
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. I want to thank Jan Michael Looking Wolf for such a beautiful observance and reminder of what has almost been lost through acts of white supremacy and hate. We also want to thank Chisao Hata for giving her time and energy and her knee to the event today, and all the amazing talent that came on before us. So welcome everyone to Oregon Rises Above Hate. To those in person who braved the weather today, and to those who chose the dry version on our live stream. I'm Jeff Selby. I use he, him pronouns. I serve as the interim director of the Office of Equity and Human Rights at the City of Portland, and it's my honor to be your master of ceremonies today. This event brings us together to harness the energy, resources, and power of Asian, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. We're pleased to have so many community and elected leaders here today. A round of applause for all of the elected leaders and community leaders who are joining us. Thank you very much. And we want to recognize, obviously, that May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, a time for all Americans to honor and uplift the stories of immigrants from many countries in Asia and Oceania, now represented in Portland and throughout our country. Many Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander families have been here longer than our white neighbors, but too often our stories and contributions are unknown or ignored. In a recent report, Asian Americans were the least likely to feel that we belong and are accepted in the United States. We can change that by sharing our stories, raising our voices, and being proud of who we are. That's why we encourage you to post selfies with the hashtag IamAANHPI. All right, that stands for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander. So hashtag IamAANHPI, so we can show the world our beautiful diversity and strength of our communities. Now I will introduce one of the organizers of Oregon Rises Above Hate, Ann Nato Campbell.
Look, it's sunny. Good morning, and thank you so much for coming to today's event. This idea began last year when the news of the shootings in Atlanta broke. I'd like to take it down a little bit, go into your heart, remember that day. Now we've seen more murders and attacks, including the shootings just a couple days ago in Dallas, Texas. And we know our work here is not done. The anti-Asian rhetoric and hate that started at the beginning of the pandemic has taken root. For many AANHPI people in our state, especially women, it feels as if it's not a matter of if, but when. Too many people think it couldn't happen here. The acts of bigotry don't happen here, despite Oregon's long history of anti-Asian hate and violence. That belief is partially a function of racism, which makes a victim feel ashamed of who they are and what they have suffered. They are also afraid of the consequences of coming forward, having already been attacked. But it's because we don't talk about it to our families and friends, let alone publicly, because in most Asian cultures, we are taught to bear slights, aggressions, and negative experiences in silence. It is better to bury it deep down and soldier on. So we let others define our stories for us, define our experiences and history, and ultimately define who we are in the public eye. So as part of our efforts this year, we have partnered with the Immigrant Story and Sankar Raman to capture the stories of AANHPI Oregonians. I'm sorry if it's feedback, to expose that hate to the public. Last Friday, we watched 4 of these stories told live in an incredible event. You can go on theimmigrantstory.org and you can watch what Sankar has been doing. It's fabulous. It's exactly what we need. We need to tell our stories. There are around 40 different ethnicities in Asia and the Pacific, a diversity of cultures and people. Those who perpetrate hate like to pretend that we're all the same. They yell anti-Chinese slurs while pushing down a grandmother from the Philippines. They ask a fifth-generation Chinese American if they speak English. Their ignorance empowers their bigotry. I am my beautiful daughter who couldn't be here today because guess what? She's sick. So, but not with COVID. She keeps, every day she lets me know she doesn't have COVID. I am a third-generation Japanese American. My grandfather came to Portland, Oregon in 1917 and started our first NATO business in 1920 in downtown Portland. If I am remiss by not saying something to them in heaven or wherever they are. My grandfather, my grandmother, my father, Bill NATO. This is, I think he would say this is great. He always used great. Everything was great. So I'm gonna just say this is great, and I'm not gonna go on. I'm gonna do away with the rest of my speech, and I'm gonna turn it over. Oh, it's you again. Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you for coming. Oh, one more thing. I lost my mom in July, and so we are doing a vigil for all those we have lost during the pandemic at Lansu Chinese Garden. It's open for free, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. today. I hope you'll stop by. The vigil will have a concert by Fear No Music, and Jan Michael Looking Wolf will be coming back to do another land blessing. We need to remember those before us and really pay tribute. So that'll be from 6 to 9. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, for all your hard work, and thank you to everyone who worked tirelessly to put all this together today. I'd like to highlight a bill in Congress right now. It's H.R. 2283, which would mandate teaching Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander history in institutions of higher learning, libraries, and museums who receive federal educational grants. Everyone should know our history because it is their history too. It is American history. Let your representative in Congress know how important this bill is in combating ignorance, bigotry, and anti-Asian hate. Now I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker. In his 13 years in Congress, Senator Jeff Merkley has been a tireless advocate for civil rights, voting rights, reproductive rights, and environmental sustainability. We know that the effects of climate change will fall harder on Black folks, Indigenous folks, people of color, and immigrant communities in Oregon. And globally, Asia, Hawaii, and the Pacific Islands are already suffering, with India seeing temperatures over 120 degrees and triggering a renewed use in coal burning to meet energy demands. Senator Merkley's leadership on addressing climate change has been consistent, creative, and unyielding, and we applaud his efforts. Please help me welcome to the wobbly stairs, Senator Jeff Merkley.
Well, greetings, everybody. It is the case that it is rare that I give a speech that I don't talk about climate change, but not today. Today, are we ready to celebrate Oregon rising above hate? Are we ready to celebrate Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month? Are we ready to stand arm in arm and side by side with all of our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community who have felt under attack at moments here in our state? Are we ready to stand with them? Now, I was thinking about how, apart from our native Oregon Indian tribes, we're all immigrants. And we have very different immigrant stories. Now, my family ancestors were pioneers who crossed the country and worked in all kinds of different trades along the way, and didn't find it here to Oregon until the last generation, having gone through many of the western states. And when we think about our Asian American, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, who are part of our community here in Oregon, they too have their immigrant stories, different than my family. We have the first Chinese immigrants come to these shores back in the 1850s, followed by our first Japanese immigrants and the first Pacific Islanders in the decades that followed. And they were pioneers as well, and they were taking risks, and they were exploring, and they were charting new frontiers. And our Chinese railroad workers played a pivotal role in connecting this city to San Francisco. And I was so happy to see that in Southern Oregon they erected a statue celebrating the work of our Chinese railroad workers and all that their families have added to the Oregon story for the generations afterwards. And you may have heard that after it was erected, it was defaced. Let us find a way to touch the hearts of every Oregonian, to celebrate each other and put all of this hate behind us. We know that the journey for so many has not always been easy and not always been happy. There has been discrimination. There has been bigotry. There has been persecution. There has been inequality. But it is our challenge to rise above all of that. There is a vision in our Constitution that certainly was not the case when the Constitution was put forward in 1787, but that vision of equality of each individual, a full measure, an equal measure of opportunity for each individual. And let us continue to pursue that in every possible way that every Oregonian will have full equality and full opportunity. Members of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander community have so many successes and so many contributions in every field, in the arts, in the sciences, in architecture, in education, in every aspect of our life, making us a better, stronger state. And that's a part of the story that we draw attention to and celebrate in this particular month. It's the story that we don't just rise above hate, we condemn it. We refuse to back down in the face of it, and we tower over it because it has no place in our state. Working together, we will stand up, arm in arm, against bigotry and hate and discrimination. We will stand up shoulder to shoulder with the residents of our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community, and we will continue to celebrate the history of their accomplishments, their current outstanding contributions, in knowledge also of all that they soon will add to that incredible record. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Senator Merkley, and thanks for being our voice. Next, please welcome Metro Councilor Duncan Huang to the stage. See, the whole family is here. Very nice. Appointed to Metro in January of this year, Councillor Wang works hard with Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon to amplify Asian, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander voices in the community and issues in the legislature, including the recent agreement to transfer 82nd Avenue from state to city control. Please help me welcome Duncan Huang.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Duncan Huang, and I'm a Metro Councilor for Southeast Southwest Portland, and I'm also the Associate Director at APANO, the Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon, where we do organizing and advocacy on behalf of our community. Thank you, thank you. Usually I'd be here for a time of celebration and honoring our elders in our communities, but it's also a time of sadness. I want to start by talking about April 27th, just a few weeks ago. APANO and our partners at Asian Health and Service Center, we released a report on survey data of almost 1,000 Asian Americans. This was done in language and Chinese and Korean and Vietnamese. And 49% of respondents reported being the victim or witnessing a racial slur or other degrading language. 49% of people that were surveyed. So yeah, half of the people here have probably experienced something in the last year or so. And 84% of those people said that they didn't report it, that it wasn't worth reporting because nothing would happen. That same day that we released the report, our offices at APANO were vandalized. We had our windows broken. That same day, Fubon Shopping Center had windows broken, and the Jade District Transit Center had their windows broken. Later that weekend, I counted 8 Asian American-owned businesses that were broken into or had their windows broken. And I'm also on the campaign trail right now. Some of my colleagues that are Asian American that are running for office have reported slurs when they're knocking on doors or in doing texts. We're getting a lot of go back to your countries or you brought the virus. And in our schools too, we're seeing hate and bias rise. There's been some bullying in a lot of our schools, especially in East Portland. So, you know, this issue is very real, and it's still with us today, you know, 2 years into the pandemic, and it's coming in waves, and it's got to stop. So these issues are deeply personal for me. I'm a Chinese American, and my parents came over from China, and we landed in Upper Michigan. They opened the first Chinese restaurant in the whole region, and you know, anytime you go to a small town all across America, there's always that one Chinese restaurant, and that's how I grew up. You know, I worked in the back and you know made dumplings, bus tables when we could, and that is you know our version of the American dream and how you know immigrant communities are able to get a foothold and make it. Thank you. So today when I do my work, you know, I see that same scene playing out. You know, I work on 82nd Avenue, and you can walk down the street, and any of the shops or restaurants, you can walk in and see that same scene playing out. And that's what really motivates me to do my work, is to bring those voices with me to elected office, to decision making, and making sure we have a voice. And just remembering that, like, these small businesses, they're our livelihood, and you know, these vandals have taken you know iPads, so you know they couldn't run their businesses, and it's really impacting people's lives. I also want to highlight that you know anti-Chinese sentiment is actually baked into the Oregon Constitution. Article 15, Section 8 of the Oregon Constitution actually said that no Chinaman could own property. We had to pay $50 to the state to live in Oregon. We couldn't vote. And in 1882, you know, the state also banned interracial marriage. So all the things that really, you know, give me meaning in life now, like, you know, I'm married to someone. I'm in elected office. I'm a lawyer. And none of this would have been possible really about 100 years ago. So this is still pretty recent, and we're still facing that legacy down today. So yeah, you know, we're experiencing a surge in hate right now, but I just want to remember that that's been baked into kind of the state's kind of history for about 200 years. So yeah, let's address that. Let's take action. Yes, thank you. I'm calling for a full court press to stop hate. And first, I want to thank Ann Campbell for organizing this event. It is just so important that we keep the spotlight on and keep raising this as an issue. And events like this are so critical to raise this issue as something that's important, to have our elected show up and speak out. So thank you. And yeah, we need to be thinking about policy changes. I see Ellen Rosenblum's here. I want to thank her department for doing so much work to address hate in our states. We have a greatly expanded hate and bias reporting hotline where you can call in basically any language and get victim support. We need more policies like that to really support the communities in need. And we got an election in a couple days, so please vote. There's a lot of Asian Americans on the ballot right now, and we need our representation so we have a say in how decisions are made. And yeah, finally, as a small business, owner growing up in all these businesses that were hit, please consider getting some takeout, order from businesses that were impacted, and support the small business community because it means so much. So thank you so much, and yeah, let's get it done. And thank you. And with everyone's help here, I'm hopeful for the future. So thank you very much.
Names are important, and I've known Duncan for a long time, for many years, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name, Duncan. Like I said, names are important. I appreciate your grace with all that. Councillor Duncan Wong, everybody. And Duncan, if you ever introduce me at a future event, please feel free to call me Jeff Shelby. So I'd like to take a moment to add on to what Duncan mentioned earlier, specifically about the impact of COVID-19 and the increasing negative attitudes towards Asians, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. In a recent survey, 21% of Americans agree that Asian Americans are at least partly responsible for COVID-19. This is up 10% from 2021. And this is despite our efforts to counter the effects of labels like Kung Flu. At the same time, 33% of Americans think hate crimes against our communities have stayed the same or decreased in the past year, despite bias crimes overall rising in Multnomah County by 41%. We need to shrink that huge education gap with help from the broader community. Now I'd like to invite our next speaker to the stage. And again, please be careful, the stairs are a little wobbly. I'd like to invite Multnomah County Commissioner Sushila Jayapal to the stage. She represents District 2 and is the first South Asian American on the commission. Commissioner Jayapal chairs the Multnomah County Sex Trafficking Collaborative and co-chairs both the Gateway Center for Domestic Violence Advisory Council and Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. This work is critical for Asian, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander women who have experienced a disproportionate attacks of anti-Asian hate. 61.8% of hate incidents reported to Stop AAPI Hate in 2021 were from women. And 3 out of 4 AANHPI women report facing racism or discrimination. Please welcome Commissioner Jayapal.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Good afternoon, everybody. Namaste. Nyana Sushila Jayapalana. Nyana Malayaliana. Nyana Oregonianana. That was I am Sushila Jayapal. I am a Malayali from the southern state of Kerala, and I am an Oregonian. In my language, Malayalam. I want to start by thanking Anne and Erica. You were there. There you are. Thank you so much, Anne and Erica. Thank you for organizing this. You know, last year it was a small and lovely and wonderful event, and look what you've done with it. And I am so excited that we're going to make this a tradition, and we are going to come together every year to celebrate AANHPI community and to stand against hate. So, another round. So I came to the US in 1979. I was 16 years old, and I came here to go to college. And I still remember my first day on my college campus. My mom and I had shopped for what we thought was the appropriate clothing to wear for a Pennsylvania winter. And so I was standing at the train station with my suitcases at my feet, and I was dressed in what we had bought: turtleneck, wool sweater, corduroy pants, and it was the middle of August in Pennsylvania. I have never felt so visible and simultaneously so invisible. And I think when we talk about hate and violence against our AANHPI communities, we're talking about our simultaneous visibility and our invisibility. Our visibility takes the shape of being treated as perpetually foreign, even though we've been in this country for hundreds of years. The other day, I stepped into a Whole Foods in my neighborhood in Hollywood in Northeast Portland, and I stepped into the elevator, and there was a woman there, and she smiled at me, and so I smiled back. I could tell she wanted to have a conversation. And she said, "Where are you from?" And some of you are already smiling. You know where this conversation goes. I said, "I'm from here. I'm from Portland." And she said, "No, where are you really from?" Sometimes I fight that question. Sometimes I answer the question I know they're asking. And this time I answered. I said, "I'm originally from India." And she said, "Oh, I knew it. I knew you weren't from here." I have lived in the United States for 40 years. I have lived in Portland, Oregon for almost 30 years. I have 2 children who were born here. I'm an elected official. And I am still not seen as American. I am still seen as being from somewhere else. And that's one of the things, I think, that gives rise to hate and violence against our communities. And then the other is the invisibility. There are 22 million of us in this country. We are the fastest growing racial and ethnic group among voters, and yet most Americans simply don't know us. A May 2021 survey of almost 3,000 Americans found that 42% of them could not name a single prominent Asian American. This was May of 2021. We had and have a vice president who identifies as Black and Asian, and 42% of the respondents couldn't identify a prominent Asian American. Some of that invisibility has to do with how broad and diverse the category of Asian is. We have our origins in more than 50 countries. We speak over 100 languages and dialects. We have entirely distinct faiths and cultural practices. The needs of specific groups of AANHPI are very different, but those differences get lost when we're described in the aggregate, and that has very concrete impacts on our AANHPI communities. Just one example. The state's published data on vaccination rates among Asians showed extremely high uptake, suggesting that we didn't need to do outreach to Asian American communities. But what we know is that disaggregated data would show us that some of those communities, particularly those composed of more recent immigrants, had much lower vaccine uptake, requiring targeted strategies to reach them. So that invisibility, that lack of understanding, has real impacts on our neighbors. For Multnomah County, the pandemic highlighted the need to focus on AANHPI communities in very specific ways. We disaggregated data so that we could tell which AANHPI communities had high positivity rates, and we set up testing clinics in locations where those communities live and work. We also channeled business relief to Asian businesses hit hard by the pandemic through our partners at Apano, thank you, Duncan Wong, and your entire team, and the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, with 27% of our first round of funding going to Asian-owned businesses because they had been particularly hard hit. We will continue to build on the lessons from the pandemic on how we can make our services more appropriate for and tailored to AA and HPI communities. This year, I initiated a study to map our services to immigrant and refugee communities, many of which are Asian and Pacific Islander, and figure out what the gaps are and how we can make them more accessible. I'm excited about the fact that as a result of that work, for the first time, Multnomah County will have a staff position dedicated to developing our systems for serving immigrant and refugee communities. But really, on this day, what I want to say is events like this that bring together our diverse communities to celebrate and uplift each other are essential to making visible our strength, our resilience, and our place in this state and in this country. This is how we claim our space, and we must claim our space. This is how we say we stand against hate and violence and for love and belonging, by showing up and by doing the work to uplift each other. This is how we say we are here to stay, and we are all stronger for it. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for standing with us. Together we are resilient, together we are strong, and together we will create a Multnomah County where we all can thrive. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. The pandemic has shown a light on many disparities. This is particularly true for our Pacific Islander community, which often finds it hard to be seen and heard. While they make up only 0.5% of Oregon's population, their infection rates were 12 times that of white Oregonians, and they've suffered some of the worst health outcomes from COVID-19 of any group. Hawaii and the Pacific Islands are on the front lines of climate change, with rising sea levels and increasingly devastating weather events threatening lives, community, and history. That touches us here in Oregon. To speak about this further, I'd like to ask Lute Richards to come to the stage. Ms. Richards is a family advocate for the Portland-based Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization and was personally affected by the massive Tonga eruption that wreaked havoc on the island nation in January. Please join me in welcoming Lute Richards.
Sorry. The Immigrants and Refugees Community Organization, also known as IRCO, is honored to be here, to be partnering with Oregon Rise Against Hate to remind everyone that Asian American and Pacific Islander history is American history. As a Pacific Islander advocate myself, my commitment to activism and collective awareness is inherent in our heritage and culture. My name is Lute Hinamafilimohala Richards. I am a full-blooded Tongan, born and raised in American Samoa by goodly Tongan parents who migrated to American Samoa from Tonga in search of a better future for their future children. I am inspired by ORA, Oregon Rise Above Hate. Your actions to lead change, to make a difference, to interrupt hate both in yourselves and around you, stepping bravely into that allyship. You are building inclusive communities. You are building inclusive tomorrows where we can all share in equity in our goals. You're making the safe spaces where all our children can thrive. You bring me hope together with you all, our school, our communities, all of it together with our government leaders. We are not just envisioning a more fair and just world, we're also creating it. So on behalf of Mr. Lee, the director of the Immigrants, Refugees Community Organization, we thank you. Asian and Pacific Islanders are part of the diverse makeup of Oregon communities. Oregon Pacific Islander population has grown by over 30% since the 2010 census. Our voice matters. Today, we hope to shed light on the issue of Asian and Pacific Islander targeted racism and hate crimes in Oregon, in addition to aiding partner organizations in their joint mission of increasing education and resources for reporting race-based harassment and crimes, along with finding and filling gaps in services to better meet the needs of the AAPI here in Oregon. Some of these reported surges by AAPIs of hate incidents, crimes, and violence, often related to racist scapegoating because of the pandemic. As a result, AAPIs have spurred their own communities and other leaders in industries to take actions. I work with the high school, Pacific Islander high school students, and I would get to talk to them about how, and they would tell me about how other students would look down on them and would make fun of them when they wear their traditional clothes, such as the wraps around them, or the custom skirts and sarongs. They get laughed at. And they would say, this is not your country to wear that. Why do you even wear those here? This will cause symptoms of racial trauma, including things like having numb feelings, fear, and question their sense of identity. These are some real-life racial trauma. Today, we also hope to bring to light that people have been underreporting, like police always underreport incidents as hate and bias. Police do not report it as bias, and they are also not supporting adequately for community members that are affected by these hate incidents. I urge to just being able to truly understand the issues that each community is facing is really important. It is empowerment in having education around an understanding of communities when sticking together and working together. We are outraged and deeply saddened by the escalation of hate crimes against our Asian American communities and stand with them in the fight against it. Hate against one of us is hate against all. So by working together on the community level to our state level, we can help this senseless violence throughout the nation and on the global level. We urge to commit to making your schools a no place for hate. We urge to explore and reflect identity and its aspects. URCO is not only a place for one immigrant community or one refugee community. At URCO, we serve so many ethnic communities. We get to know them and learn of their identity and their bias and power. We urge to commit to interpret differences by recognize the value of diversity in society. We urge to commit to challenge bias, build the capacity to recognize and confront bias within oneself, others, and institutions. There really isn't no place for hate as a vision for our future or today. We are the change makers, leading the way and doing such important work. This is a good time here at this event and from now on to call awareness to these experiences and begin thinking about how it impacts our communities. We must all commit to taking intentional anti-racist steps to break down these systems in our actions, in our relationships, and in our laws. We must work diligently against racism and bigotry in all their forms. We can and we must stop hate crimes. We must all learn and understand and appreciate our shared history as Americans. That means we need to be learning, celebrating, and honoring Asian American and Pacific Islander throughout the year, not just 1 month a year. Malo apito.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Representation and a seat at the table matters. We've made inroads, including our next speaker, Multnomah County Commissioner Lori Stegman, who represents District 4 and the first Korean American on the commission. Her co-commissioner, Sushila Jayapal, Beaverton City Council member Nadia Hassan, and legislators like Representative Khan Pham are bringing our voices into important decision-making processes. But more of, yes, exactly. Representation matters. But more of our community needs to vote. And as Councilor Wong reminded us, Tuesday is Oregon's May primary. Make sure to check your registration and vote. Commissioner Lori Stegman has been proactive during the pandemic, helping East Multnomah County with targeted vaccination sites and distributing over $1 million in business recovery grants. Many Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community members are small business owners, and emergency funding like this helped many of them survive the pandemic. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Stegman.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We should give ourselves a round of applause. I want to thank ORA, the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office, and their Asian Pacific Islander Affairs Commission, OCAPIA, the Coalition of Communities of Color, and the over 50 organizations and businesses, and especially Ann Nato Campbell, for gathering us here today as we stand in solidarity and rise above hate. My name is Lori. I'm a first-generation Korean American. I immigrated in 1960. I am an Oregonian. I am an American, and I am home. But what is it to belong? To be part of a family, a community, a country? I believe that true belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. And yet, my whole life, I've tried to fit in, to blend in, to be like everyone else. In other words, to be invisible. I've struggled to balance the inherent need that all humans have to be seen, to be acknowledged, and to be accepted, while at the same time knowing that when I do show up and speak out, I risk alienation, personal attacks, and even harm. And as someone who identifies as a cisgender woman and a proud Korean American, planning for my physical safety affects every decision I make. I don't go hiking or walking alone in isolated areas. I do my errands in the daylight hours, and I always park in well-lit, unobstructed areas. But while my hypervigilance has protected me to some degree, the reality is I could simply be in the wrong place at the wrong time. A recent study done on anti-Asian hate crimes conducted by the Oregon Values and Belief Center reported that 41% of survey respondents who experienced hate crimes were people ages 50 and over, one of our most vulnerable populations of which I belong to. And unfortunately, this finding echoes national reports that indicate Asian seniors and are frequent targets of hate crimes. As a result, our quality of life is significantly diminished as we experience fear in doing everyday activities like going to the store or visiting with friends. And to compound that trauma, we are less likely to access mental health support after experiencing harassment or a hate crime. When people feel threatened or scared, they often experience a fight or flight response. And when we're in that state, it can trigger a cascade of unhealthy stress hormones. While it enabled our ancestors to react quickly to life-threatening situations, in today's society, it can and does create chronic stress. And over time, that chronic stress contributes to high blood pressure, promotes the formation of artery clogging deposits, and causes changes in the brain that may contribute to anxiety, depression, and addiction. With the oversight of over 32 health clinics at Multnomah County, we have witnessed the results of institutional racism within our country's systems and structures. And we have acknowledged that racism shortens lives and reduces the quality of life. COVID-19, diabetes, and infant mortality are just a few of the poor health outcomes that BIPOC communities suffer at a significantly higher rate than their white counterparts. And that's why Multnomah County's declaration of racism as a public health crisis was and is our duty. I'd like to share with you a part of our declaration, and even though I shared this with you last year, it bears repeating. The state of Oregon was founded on the notion of creating a white utopia and around the functional and implicit removal, exploitation, and/or exclusion of BIPOC individuals and communities. From Black exclusion laws and restrictions that barred Black and Chinese people from voting, to a steady stream of discriminatory laws and the practice of redlining in Portland. The legacies of Oregon's founding ideals continue to perpetuate harm, oppression, and marginalization within communities of color today. Racism is codified into our laws and institutions, which were created on a foundation of the ideology of white supremacy. It upholds systems, structures, and policies that were created to advantage white people while neither serving nor benefiting people of color. But racism also shows up between individuals through slurs, offensive language or hate speech, bullying, harassment and discrimination, and other acts of bigotry, all of which reinforce and perpetuate inequities. As the first Asian and Korean American to ever serve on the board, I'm here to tell you that Commissioner Jayapal and your entire board, and I also saw Commissioner Myron, your entire board of Multnomah County Commissioners stands firm in our commitment to address the racial inequities that our systems were built on. And I have to tell you what a privilege it is to serve on a board of all women where the majority of us are women of color. That does deserve an applause. Representation matters, and seeing people who we identify with and who understand our diversity is incredibly important. So today and every day, we honor and recognize our diversity, our beauty, and our strength as we stand in solidarity to rise above hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stegman. I'm so proud to have so much diverse representation in the county. It's amazing. Up next, I'd like to invite Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum to the stage. Attorney General Rosenblum is the first woman to hold the position and a strong advocate for civil rights. In 2019, the work of her Hate Crime Prevention Task Force resulted in changes to Oregon's hate crimes law, expanding what constitutes a bias crime and creating a database statewide. In the fall of 2021, the Department of Justice's Bias Response Hotline received an additional $2 million in funding, expanding the services available to victims of bias incidents, a very important part of addressing anti-Asian hate. Please join me in welcoming Attorney General Rosenblum.
Thank you, Jeff. You just gave my speech, so it'll be short. Good afternoon, everyone. It is such an honor to be here with you all in person, again, to join in Rising Against Hate. Recently, Governor Brown declared May to be Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in Oregon. So it's especially wonderful to join in this observance today, mid-month, and to add my voice to her important proclamation. Although the document, and I did bring a few copies that I've been handing out, is worthy of a full recitation, I want to focus my limited time on two of the whereas clauses. First, it highlights your immense contributions to our state, proclaiming, whereas you have advanced Oregon's prosperity through your contributions to all fields of education, business, the arts, as we've seen today, economic development, science, healthcare, and technology. So, first and foremost, thank you for enriching our state in innumerable ways. Second, and unfortunately not so upbeat, but so important, this. Whereas during the COVID-19 pandemic, long-term health and economic disparities have widened, and hate and bias incidents against Asian and Pacific Islanders have increased, as of course we've heard today, Oregonians must denounce xenophobia, discrimination, and stigma against Asian and Pacific Islander communities and commit to solidarity and healing. And I do have more copies if you'd like a few. During this time, since my office launched its Bias Response Hotline in 2020, which Jeff, and thank you, Duncan, also mentioned earlier, thousands of reports have been made, and we have responded personally to every single one. These acts of hate and bias have generated fear in our communities and created isolation at home. The prolonged anxiety that results also harms our mental health. This cannot and will not stand. Rather, we must recognize that your experience and your history are an essential and deeply valuable part of Oregon history. Most significant to me, today's celebration is an opportunity to recommit all of us, and that includes my agency, Oregon's Department of Justice, and our newly enlarged Civil Rights Unit, to combating the continued rise of anti-Asian hate. I join you in helping to give voice to AAN HPI community members who have long borne the pain of racism and bias in silence, and I especially want to endorse the organizing principle of Rise Against Hate. We will not let those who spread lies, fear, and hate about us define who we are or our place in society. This organized, unified stand against hate harnesses the power of many and amplifies voices and inspires courage in others to rally against this current tide of hate and violence. So together, let's take responsibility to denounce hate every time and to sustain love for our diverse, beautiful, and strong communities. Thank you to Oregon Rises Above Hate and for all you're doing today and always, and for being here and inviting me to be a part of this important celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General. Mayor Ted Wheeler was going to be here today, but he sends his regrets. But Bobby Lee, his chief of staff, is here. So we appreciate Bobby being here to represent the mayor's office from the city of Portland. Another reminder for you all, as Duncan and a few other folks mentioned today, it's important to support small business, and so many Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian folks are small business owners. We do have food carts set up around 3rd and Davis. So please, no celebration like this would be complete without amazing food. So please take advantage of the food carts on 3rd and Davis, between 3rd and 4th. As we close our event today, we want to thank you all for joining together with us. We hope that you felt the power of our community to face hate, overcome it, and rise above it. Thank you to everyone who organized this event, and special thanks to Eric and Nato Campbell for providing the words that I spoke today. Thank you, everyone. Up next, I'd like to introduce the Lees Association Lion Dance.
Hello. How are we doing out here? All right, all right. Those are some serious speeches. We have a lot of work to do, but let's celebrate our culture and have some fun. My name is Nick. I'm from the Portland Lees Association, and we're here to perform Chinese traditional lion dance. And before we begin, I'll tell you a little bit about lion dancing. Lion dancing began in China over 2,000 years ago, and there are many stories about how it began. My favorite story is about a village of farmers where every year a ferocious creature came around and ate all of their crops and grains. One year, the villagers decided to frighten the Yan away. They made their own creature using a bamboo basket from the head and painted it with many bright colors. When the Yan came again, the villagers surprised with beating drums, firecrackers, and the dancing lion they had made. The Nyan was afraid and ran away, never to return. In our performance, the lions will bow 3 times as a sign of reverence to heaven, earth, and mankind. Then they'll play for a while. The lions will become tired and look for a place to sleep. When they awaken, the lions are hungry and begin to search for food. The food is in the form of a green vegetable hanging from a string. The lions take the greens into their mouth and shred them. Then they spit them back out, symbolizing blessings from the lions to the audience. Then the lions will unfurl 3 lucky scrolls, blessing good health and good blessings to the audience. Please enjoy the show. Thank you.